Two, one, we're live. Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm so excited. Those of you that were watching last night, you know I was trying to reach a very, very dear friend of mine. He's an extraordinary individual, an incredible producer, DJ, Mr. Ted Currier. So he's here and he's online right now. And I just wanted to thank you guys for being patient. He's actually here online. So, Ted,
Good
I want
evening.
to thank you. I want to tell them who you are, and I want to tell them, just let them know how wonderful of a producer and a DJ and your background. So, Mr. Currier is the former vice president of Capitol Records LA A&R. And what A&R is, artist and repertoire. So Mr. Currier is the man that pretty much make the decisions on whose material was worthy enough for release or etc. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm coughing so much today. Look like everybody's coming on rapidly. Thank you, everybody. So he's the former vice president, like I said, of LA Capitol Records A&R. He's also a very famous, very popular DJ, well known in the 70s and the 80s and probably even in the 90s. I'm not sure about that. I'll let him speak on that. But he's worked with Freddie Jackson, Tony Terry, and Melba Moore, and one of his most notable hits that's in a lot of the commercials today, even still, is Atomic Dog. Bow wow wow yippee yo yippee, that song. And Ted, welcome. Thank you so much. He's also produced my song, just because he's my friend. The World Ain't Gonna End. So I was gonna start with that track tonight. I forgot to play it. You guys can go and hear it. Ted, welcome, and I thank you for your patience. So let's get
Well,
started.
hello.
Thank you. Let's get started. So let's just take a little walk down your history, Mr. Courier. You used to be a DJ at Funhouse. Let's talk about the Funhouse days.
A walk down memory lane. Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was a DJ at the Fun House. It held about 2,000 people. It was in the early days, back when it all started, when what's happening now was blossoming and trying to find out if it should even exist. Studio 54 days. Yeah, so I was a DJ at before MIDI. That is before computers were used to create music. Um, let's see.
I want you to speak up a little bit, all right, Ted? Speak up just a little bit more,
Okay.
please, because you not naturally
Okay.
talk low and shit.
Yeah, I do. You're right.
Speak up, shit.
So let's see. I was the DJ. I was probably one of the first 100. I was among the first 200 people to be a working DJ. So you could say I'm an original DJ. I ended up working at the Fun House, and said they had a capacity of about 2,000 people. It was on 24th Street. Let's see, I haven't said this address in a long time. I think between 10th and 11th Avenue. And one of the interesting things about that club is it was they allowed underage kids. It was interesting. Like if you were 16 and wanted to drink, and it was a weekend, you could go there. It's right next to what's used to be called the Meatpacking District.
It still is. It's still
that,
called. It's still called.
Yeah.
You're talking about 14th and 8th, and in New York, by the way.
14th and by the river, headed towards the Hudson.
You know, my viewers are not all from New York, so I gotta make sure let them know that was in New York.
That's right. Cover those spots.
Yeah.
Where they need explanation. So I remember getting a call one night from the owner, and he told me to not to go to work that night. It was a Friday night, and to meet him, to come downtown and meet him. And I think the restaurant was called Homestead. It was a steak restaurant. It was on, I think it was around 15th Street, 14th Street, and 11th Avenue. So I thought, oh man, I'm getting fired. So I go down there, and he said, "You're not going to work tonight." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "We're getting raided tonight." So I was at work the next night, and I just thought that was something interesting to say, since it's the only time that anything like it ever happened to me.
Well, how did he know though that he was going to be raided that night? I mean, they let him know he had that kind of relationship with the police.
Well, they were the owners that were connected.
Yeah, sound like
connected men. Yeah, and they left a certain amount of cash and alcohol, so as not to disclose that they knew something was going to happen. And the next night, it was back to business as usual.
Wonderful.
And I will say that at that time, there was a radio station called WKTU that started playing disco music. All of a sudden, it was a sports station before, and there were enough sports stations in New York, and they decided they wanted to try something different, and disco had been bubbling under, and they ended up just unannounced. They started playing disco with no commercial interruptions, nothing.
Okay.
For weeks. And within about a week and a half, every station, every store in New York was playing WKTU, Disco 92.
Wow.
And so I thought, let me call them up. And I wanted to say how happy I was about the format, and that I was excited that whatever store I went into, you could hear it on the radio. And I happened to get the vice president on the phone. And he said, "You like it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How'd you like to come down to the radio station for a meeting?" So I did that. I said, "Of course." And to make a long story short, he ended up hiring me.
Wow.
To do a show on Friday and Saturday nights, 3 hours each night.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that show. It was called Studio 92, and I ended up presenting the way professional mixing was supposed to be conducted, and was conducted by accomplished DJs. Everything was new at that time.
Yes,
and
it was.
They hadn't heard. They hadn't heard one record change to another seamlessly without the listener being able to tell. They had never heard and a year of it. And it turns out that all my Facebook friends are people who became DJs because of that show. Because it was the number one station in New York, which means at any given time, you had about 200,000 people listening. Were fascinated by, hey, how did he do that? That was a different record than I'm hearing now. What's up with that? Some people are attracted to that event, especially at that time. So,
right.
You figure 1 in 100 people, 1 in 200. That still is a lot of people to decide to themselves, I'm going to start doing this for a career. And of course, at that time, who knew that it'd even be a career?
Right.
You know, everyone thought it was a trend, that it would have a beginning and end. But they also thought that about rap music. So, but that's the establishment. They want things to stay as they are forever because they understand it. And the gates are closed behind them. They pulled the ladder up. They got to the top spots and then made sure there was no ladder in order to keep a tendency to figure out what earns and keep it burning if you can. So so, well, from that I got hired to another station, which then became number one. I won't take credit for it, but my timing was great.
Okay.
And that was WBLS, DJ at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he hired me. If I can use this to get a job at a record company, I'll be happy. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
As a result of the success of my show and the exposure, because disco at the time, there were only a relatively small amount of people who were considered experts.
Right.
Just like maybe this isn't the best example, but now blockchain experts are in demand because it's a new thing.
Okay, but you mentioned something though. I don't mean to cut you off because I don't think my audience knows all that. Good stuff you're talking as far as names, and they don't know the industry like that. They're not really in the industry.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
but you
mentioned Studio 54. Let's talk a little bit about that. The legendary Studio 54. Did you ever go in there? What did you see? What was it like those days?
Well, they kind of invented the bouncers outside of the club, selecting the people they wanted to let in to curate the clientele.
So there used to be no bouncers before that?
They started that. They started making sure there were crowds outside to create excitement and desire to get inside, and selected who they'd let in based on how they were dressed.
Brilliant.
At the time, scarves, had replaced ascots. People don't know what those are. The point is, there was a certain mode. It's a joke about the 80s. It's a joke. It's the mullet. It's that name. Mullet is also a fish. But never mind. It became known and famous from Studio 54. But what I'll always remember is how they curated their clientele. And like the club business, that you can get 1,000, 2,000 people to pay money and buy drinks inside of a building and listen to pre-recorded music, and you don't need to pay a band. Once that model was proved, of course, many more people decided to copy it and put their own spin on it. And so that led to the Garage. You heard about Larry Levan and the Garage?
Well, I remember the Garage, but it was before I got to New York. The Garage, for those of you, the viewers that are watching, anyone that lives in New York, they know what I'm about to say. That was the day, baby. The Garage, back in the Garage days. And you know how you hear the old people talking about back in their day, how they had the so-and-so and the jitterbug and all that, club, the song, whatever. They had the Garage. I had got there right Garage had finished that era. There was the Garage. There was Better Days. There was a whole lot of the Warehouse, Sound Factory, Palladium, the Palace, all those clubs. And what he's saying, and Cafe Con Leche, got to remember Cafe Con Leche. So what he's saying is he's bringing in all that era back in the fun days, back in when music was like really jumping and disco was new and fresh and all that shit. But I want to kind of get to how you ended up, producing George Clinton's Atomic Dog. Wow, wow, wow. And you produce so many people.
Wow, wow, wow.
You got so many hits out there. You got over 16, 17 hits?
Yeah.
Number one platinum hits now. This man ain't no joke.
Yeah, no. There were a lot of them. Okay,
what are the songs you produce? Just name drop a few of them.
Well, there was one called Let's Go All the Way by Fly Fox. That was a worldwide hit.
Okay.
Let's go all the way, we can make a better way. Let's go all the way. It starts out jump, jump, zing, zing, jump, jump. Jump, jump, zing, zing, jump, jump. And it proceeds from there. I don't think vocally I can do it that much.
Notice, let's go all the way. Now keep going.
Yeah.
What's another song? Come on, man.
All right, so there's Wow, Wow, Yippee, Oh, Yippee, There's that one. There's, I had there's so many.
Tony Terry.
I don't think
Tony
about
Terry.
them.
Tony Terry.
Tony Terry, Sweet Sensation. They still work in an oldie circuit. At that time, they called freestyle music. They called it Latin hip hop.
Yeah.
I had also one of the first. I had the third national. I had the third national rap hit. Put out by a major label. It was called "A Fly Girl" by the Boogie Boys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aren't you working with the rapper right now, though? You're working with a rapper right now.
Yes, a rapper. Yeah, his name is Kano.
Really?
C-A-N-O.
Kano. That's an interesting. That's a very interesting name.
Well,
what is he? Is he black? Is he white? Is he Spanish? What is he?
Okay, he's a good-looking, I'd say Dominican, but you see him, you think he's black, I'd say. He's a light-skinned, high yellow, right?
Yeah.
Did I say that?
High yellow.
Yeah, so, but he's actually Spanish. You'd never know it. He doesn't have a Spanish accent.
Wow.
But his background is that, and he does speak Spanish.
Wow.
It surprised me one day. I heard him on the phone talking to his parents, and he's speaking Spanish. I said, "Oh, okay."
So, how soon do you foresee this character? This not character. This rapper. How when are y'all gonna? When is this shit gonna be out? Shit.
It will. I'm working on a vocal right now, and have like 2 others to complete. So after they reach the point where they're worthy of release, we'll put them out. I would say it'll be the first of the year.
Good. I look forward to that.
So will I. So do I.
I'm gonna interview Kano. Once that happens, I want to interview him.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to interview him.
You know, your record, don't forget to tell them you made me put the record out before I said it was ready. I'm just saying.
Okay, okay, let me let them know. Say that louder.
I said, Diana was so impatient to get her record out, World Ain't Gonna End, that she insisted. She put a clock on it. And I thought it wasn't ready.
That's true. Let me tell them.
But
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since he want to tattletale.
We did it anyway.
I know what you're saying.
She was the artist. She was the artist. The artist gets to say
I'm gonna say
like that.
I'm gonna say what you're not saying, Ted. Okay, here we go, y'all. First to fuck off. This is a lesson to everybody. Don't be me. Okay? Don't be me. What happened was, and I learned from this, Ted. I learned. I don't know why you still fuck with me to this day, but okay, here I am with the #1 top producer, period, in my opinion. Okay, because this man has so many hits, and they're #1 motherfucking, chart-breaking hits. Okay, and he's my friend. Well, I don't care about all that shit he done. I know him. I know Ted personally. So I'm like, God damn it, I need you to hurry up and finish my shit. I want my shit out. I want it out now. And he was like, Lo, you gotta listen. You gotta be patient. You know, there's a science to this shit, and blah 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 blah. You know. What happened? I looked like I froze, Ted. Anyway, so he broke it all down. He explained it. And I was in a hurry because, though, you got to remember, it was 2012, and I came up with the song, The World Ain't Gonna End, because everybody thought the world was going to end, remember? And the deadline was 2002. It was December 21st, Ted. And we had been fucking around with the song a couple of months early. And I wanted to meet the deadline. That's why. You want to go after that time.
I forgot about that. That's true.
You want to go after that time.
The reason is, I can tell if a record's going to hit. At least I used to be able to. Hopefully I still can. And I didn't feel it. It didn't have that vibe. So that just putting a record out that's not going to get a reaction doesn't do you any good. You cannot replace the first time a record comes out. There's a certain excitement about it, and once it's out and has done nothing, it's so hard to rehabilitate it and bring it back, even with remixes and adding people's names that are popular. It's just hard to replace the initial release of a record.
Now I'm gonna throw you on. I'm gonna throw you under the bus. Here we go. Don't worry, it ain't bad. Yeah, but Ted, check this out. I know you. Our song is never fucking finished, and I don't want to end up having to wait 20 years for a goddamn record to come out.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Shit, I have to tell you when the goddamn song is finished, Ted. Shit.
It becomes wasted money if you put it out and nothing happens and it drops like a rock.
You keep fucking with it over. You keep changing it and shit.
Yeah, the market keeps catching up, but I recognize it is what's happening. Being unknown and being known quickly so that it appears like overnight. And basically, it requires achieving certain things that are difficult. Word of mouth. Everybody wants a viral record or viral whatever they're doing, but only very few people are going to get that. But I recognize when it's there, and also at that time, I saw all the things in the market that hadn't been done, and you just need one item that catches people's attention. So there's two parts to it. You've got to be able to flag for attention, then get the attention, and then deliver. You've got to deliver. Because it's really much easier to get attention than it is to get legs on the record. It's way easier to get people to listen to it. But once they do, they've got to then say, wow, I like it, and I want to hear it again. And records are something unlike any other. They're generated like a commodity, like tuna fish, a can of tuna fish. But the problem is, it's one of those things unlike a microwave where you buy it, it's good for 2 or 3 or 5 years until you need another one. With music, people need several of them, and they're only interested for about 3 months.
Right. I got a response for you. You may not think they're listening, but someone said, this is so interesting, y'all. Like, they're trying to tell everybody, like, really, they need to catch it. Now, this is one person I know got it. They know what I'm doing right now. I'm showing people that I really do know people. But I also want my audience to know why these people love me so much. They love me so much because of my spirit. They love me so much because of my honesty. I'm so real. Ted, let me tell the story about how we went to you came to support my.
And you're creative. You're creative. You function at your creativity is at a high level. It's not average. It's above average.
Thank you. My creativity is above average. It's above average. Wow. You're going to make me cry. You never told me that.
I've told you that in different ways.
I
wouldn't be fooling around with you if you didn't exist at a certain level that people with people who can command an audience are above average people. And the people who dominate in their field, whatever it is, tend to be really, really exceptionally gifted when it comes to brain power.
Thank you, Ted. When it comes to brain power. Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
Ted, that means a lot to me. You're going to make me cry. I didn't know you saw me like that. I'm always cussing you out.
Including artists, people who can't hardly talk. But whatever they do, people are interested in large numbers. Those people have the genius factor. It's just how it is.
Thank you.
You can learn to make things, and we are very good at imitating it. That's how we survive as a species. So you can learn whatever you want to learn if you put the time and effort into it. The 10,000 hours it takes to become an expert. And most things just require that stick-to-itiveness and that 10,000 hours. But with the arts, it's different. You really, at some point, you can't teach how to be exceptional. You can teach how to do a thing, but not how to be extraordinary.
Wow. You know, Ted, I really appreciate you saying that about me. I don't know why my throat is so dry tonight. Forgive me. But this people they don't know this, but Ted and I, we don't really talk like this, you know, always cussing them out and calling them, getting them a hard time and begging them for some money and shit like that. Or something like that. Or working on another track or something. But we don't get like this. So it means a lot,
Yeah,
Ted.
you know what you got? You can write songs, and it doesn't take you long.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
Thank you, Ted.
I mean, and they're good. A lot of people will give you pages of stuff they've written and things they've recorded, you know, fill up a disk drive with it. But it doesn't read, but it's not of the kind of quality that's needed to actually be more than a hobby.
Okay.
And you're able to, well, you did start out. I guess it's forgivable why you thought you could just slap a record together and put it out. You had a record like that. You met Richard Bush and
Priority.
I mean,
the record
magic happened.
You're talking about BU, the record. Well, I did see that. You got to remember that too, Ted. You got to remember when I met Richard. Richard's all over the place. And we just went in the studio. I recorded BU that one night, almost one take, I think. I think that was a one take record. And he thought Priority would love that record. He sent it to Priority and they produced it. I just did that shit fucked up. I was smoking weed and I just sang what the fuck came out my mouth. And it became,
well,
it
those
did
are
good.
the best records sometimes. They really are. And you can't do them over. It's
No.
the damnedest thing. You can do them better, do them over better, but you'll never get the magic that happens in an impromptu performance.
That's what that was.
Spot on. That's
what that was. But I thought the world ain't gonna end. The world ain't gonna end. It really ain't gonna end. I thought that was gonna blow up, Ted. Everybody's thinking
that needed
the
a
world.
promotional.
Let me sing a little bit of it.
That needed promotion.
Let me sing a little bit of it. Everybody's thinking that the world is gonna end. The world ain't gonna end. It really ain't gonna end. People are, I'm just, just singing a little bit of it. The world ain't gonna end. It really ain't gonna end. And I like, let's tell them about Dave Spradley, who built the track. He literally built that shit from the ground up. Dave Spradley, we got to throw him in there too.
Yep.
Tell me about Dave.
Well, I met him when I was working on Atomic Dog. I did Atomic Dog in Detroit. And George Clinton is the godfather of the funk. And he was they had these big P-Funk tours that drew thousands and thousands of people. But George caught a habit at the time, like a crack habit or something, and ended up spending all the money he got. And as a result, he owed tons of people money. If you ever saw a P-Funk concert or seen the film, think like 5 to 10 guitar players, 2 drummers, more than 3 of everything. And that's a big payroll. And so, the tours stopped and people haven't gotten paid. The last week of gigs they didn't get paid for. So they would all come down to the studio because it was quiet. I brought George back from the brink. He was blacklisted, in part because of his drug habit. And He did some things to Warner Brothers and a few others before he sold the same set of demos
George
to get
Clinton.
the advance.
Yeah, he's a dope ass performer though.
He gave the demos different names of artists, different artist names, and got advances. And I signed it to Capitol, and everybody told me, don't do it. Don't do it. And I said, you know what? I need somebody who can just put out a record with no radio and sell 500,000 units. I needed that. And so I said, I'm going to take the meeting. And I went to Washington, to the Washington Capitol Center, to meet him after a show he had there. And I talked to him, and I said, you know, if I actually stay with him and make him make the record, I might be able to get the record. I made him take me to all the studios where he had unfinished masters, so that in the event that I couldn't get him to finish the album, at least I would have music to turn in to the company to make an album, you know, to justify having spent all that money. So I ended up just hanging out with him for weeks. I started writing down every good idea he had and every song title he would mention. And he is a genius. And I decided to do the deal. And I went to Detroit and got it started. And of course, the word got out, and there was always 20, 30 people at the studio waiting for George to arrive. You know, he had this peculiar quality. He had probably 10 to 20 people waiting for him, and he'd show up and everybody would relax. And then all of a sudden he would be there. Now, how do you do that? 20 people all waiting for you. They're all like, you think, checking you, just looking at you, waiting, you know, because you owe them money. And don't you know, at one moment when nobody's looking at him in the room, he exits and no one saw it. And he kept doing that. The damnedest thing. That's talent. Not the kind of talent that you can market, but it's amazing. I mean, he's an exceptional guy. So, the point is, this leads to David Spradley because he was one of those 20 people coming in to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I watched them start the first record. Gary Scheider was kind of his lieutenant. Gary Scheider is called Star Child, and he's the guy with the diaper. He's since passed away. And I saw how they did it. And so, in the process of him making one record, I got to see where the talent was, who was doing what, and how good they were at it. And I remembered the one title that made me decide that I was going to sign George was Atomic Dog. And nobody was talking about it. So I said, I've got to make this thing happen. So, you know, I ended up organizing the guys that I needed, the drummer, the bass player, the singers, the keyboards. And Dave Spradley was the keyboard player. And we were entering the era of the keyboard player, which is what we're still in now. Uh-huh. I knew this day would come, right? Which is where the keyboards could do all the parts. Mm-hmm. So that's how David got involved, and I got involved with David. We did a lot of pre-production and did a lot of discussion about what we were going to try to do, and then I began filtering it, right, selecting the grooves. Mm-hmm. And then I, you know, booked the time, gave it the name, and said, we're going to flip the tape. Because as a DJ, I noticed that when you flip the tape, rather, when you play anything backwards at that time, everybody noticed it. Mm-hmm. So that was part of the theory of getting the attention. I needed something that wasn't going to sound like every other thing on the radio. Right. That's a recipe for getting buried and forgotten. So, you know, I flipped the tape. I started, basically how that record happened was we put down a click track, which is a quarter note tap that that creates the time, the beats per minute of any given piece of music. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You set your speed, and a quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 beats in 4 beats to a bar. And what happens is if you play that backwards or forwards, it's the same. It plays the same. You know, if you do a rhythm or a pattern and you then play it backwards, it's going to change the pattern. But with a quarter note pattern, if it's forwards or backwards, it's still going to be a quarter note pattern. So I laid that down first, and then I flipped the tape over and started recording hand claps, and I brought weights with me so that I could exercise, because I was in Detroit for about 3 months working on this album. I began clanging the weights and just everything I could think of. There was something, the closest thing to a drum machine they had at the time was called a man in the box, and it was a guitar accessory, a foot pedal. And I used that to record. I recorded it backwards, and I used that click track to make sure it was in time. Because, as I said, backwards or forwards, that quarter note click is the same.
Yeah.
4 equally spaced beats, backwards and forwards, are going to be 4 equally spaced beats, which is how it is. So we then flipped the tape back over, and it was interesting. It had a nice little pocket, and I said, yeah, we can work with this. And then we began laying down the music, and George heard it. He didn't know where the downbeat was, but we showed it to him. And we made sure he understood the key, and then his genius kicked in. He heard it and brought it to life. He would sing the melodies in parts to Gary Scheider. And I would talk with Gary about it, and then we would record it. And each day this is a different group of people in the studio, and we used whoever was there to get the gang sound. He conducted.
Right.
So it was 3 days to do the vocals, and each day, most of the people were different. Though there were 2 principals. Malia Jackson, she was the female sound of P-Funk, and I recognized that as soon as I heard her sing. I said, "That's the sound." And we made sure she was there all 3 days. Gary Scheider was there all 3 days, so that gave it the continuity. George is doing the parts. The kind of choppy little melodies and talking. But he was a genius at writing melodies. Still is, I presume.
Yeah, he is.
Genius at writing melody and lyrics.
Right.
Of a kind that are unique to P-Funk.
Yeah,
no one can really copy that.
I mean, for those of you that know who George Clinton is, I mean, really go back and really listen to his music. I love that song, Bow Wow Wow Yippee Yo. But he's known for more than just Atomic Dog, though.
Yeah, Flashlight.
Well, listen, Dominique. Yeah, listen, Dominique Shante says, now I'm about to click out of